Hi viewers, welcome to the lesson number 7 in our series of lectures on genetic resources and conservation. Today we are going to talk about the green revolution, which holds a very important position in plant genetic resources for food and agriculture. Green revolution is basically a revolution that was generated by the Norman E. Borlaug, and the main purpose of this revolution was to increase the food production, to increase the amount of food that is being produced, and to prevent the or to protect the people from hunger in especially the developing countries. The main focus of green revolution was first of all to introduce the high yielding varieties for wheat, rice, and maize in agriculture sector, and to improve the use of fertilizers so that they can get more good quality of production. And this green revolution also promoted the use of pesticides and insecticides. This green revolution was started in 1950 and it continued till 1970, and the Norman E. Borlaug, the scientist who was an American agronomist, is considered as a father of green revolution, and he was awarded with the Nobel Prize in 1970 for saving almost 1 billion people from starvation. So the Norman was an American agronomist, and he completed his bachelor's degree in forestry in 1937. In 1942, he was awarded with a PhD degree in plant pathology and genetics by University of Minnesota. In 1942, he started his job as a microbiologist at DuPont in Delaware, and this he continued this job until 1944. And during this, he also worked for the armed forces, and he run different sort of projects for that, because during this period, the armed forces they converted their lab to the research for the armed forces. So he was as he was working in this laboratory, so that he run projects for the benefit of the armed forces. And in 1944, he took the agricultural research post as a genetist and plant pathologist in Mexico, where he developed semi-dwarf, high-yield, disease-resistant wheat varieties. Then he planted these varieties initially in Mexico, and in Mexico, the yield of wheat was nearly doubled. And in 1963, the Mexico became a net exporter of wheat. So the Mexico was producing wheat that was even more than their need, and he continued his project he continued the testing of his developed varieties in India and Pakistan as well, because he wanted to try his varieties in different international locations. So he selected the India and Pakistan, because the India and Pakistan in 1965, as the Pakistan and India was just separated and they were passing through a very hard time. So the India and Pakistan, he sent the seeds to India and Pakistan, and when these two countries, in spite of very bad days that they were, or bad time that they were passing through, they planted these seeds, and then they got very good yield. And after that, they ordered these seeds from Borlaug, and they got the seed in very huge amount. And in India, the yield was nearly doubled from 12.3 million in 1965 to 20.1 million tons in 1970. Well, in Pakistan, the seeds they were planted, and the yield was increased from 4.6 million tons to 7.3 million tons. So the varieties, the semi-dwarf, high yield, disease-resistant varieties that were developed by Norman in Borlaug, they were very helpful in eradicating or in preventing the people or protecting the people from hunger, or to increasing the production of this wheat. And after that, in India, after that, the Borlaug also created a variety for rice that is also known as IR8 variety of rice. So, what was the impact of this green revolution? First of all, the green revolution, as the main focus was to increase the production. So, the green revolution promoted the use of fertilizers to improve the soil health, so that the plants that are being planted in the soil they can grow better in the presence of these fertilizers, because initially the wheat plants that were used by the uh, Borlaug, they have a very thin stem. So when the grain weight was increasing, when the grain number was increasing, the plant was not able to support that. So the Borlaug used the strategy to reduce the plant height so that the plants can have a thicker stem. And when the stem will be thicker, so the plant can hold more grain weight. So that's why the use of fertilizer was also promoted, so that the soil health will be better and the plant health will be better, and the plant will be able to hold a more grain weight. So that's why in the Green Revolution also promoted the use of fertilizers. And other than this, the irrigation practices that were supported by the Green Revolution, they also increased the area of crop growth. Initially, the crops were only grown in those areas where the rainfall was good because the irrigation system was not really good. But in the Green Revolution, they proposed the good irrigation practices, and they even used those areas where rainfall was not good, so they made the water supply enough to grow the crops. And the third main impact of the green revolution, that is also a little bad effect of green revolution, is the narrow genetic base. Because in the green revolution, before the green revolution, several varieties were used to grow or to produce the crop. For example, in India, approximately 30,000 rice varieties were used before the Green Revolution. But after the Green Revolution, only 10 varieties were preferably cultivated, and all the other varieties, they were not cultivated because they were low producers. Their production was not really good as compared to those 10 varieties which were good producers of rice. So this reduced the genetic diversity, and this reduction in the genetic diversity made the plant more susceptible to diseases. And that's why, because the plant was more susceptible to diseases or the pesticide attacks, so this green revolution, we can say that, also promoted the use of pesticides to protect or to prevent the plant from the diseases. So the green revolution, in this way, the green revolution promoted the use of fertilizers and pesticides, and it also introduced the high yielding varieties. So the overall impact of the green revolution was the increased food production, and that's why the Norman E. Borlaug was awarded with the Nobel Prize in 1970, because it was estimated that Borlaug has saved 1 billion people from starvation. So the Green Revolution was very good, and the Green Revolution holds a very important position in plant genetic resources for food and agriculture, because after the Green Revolution, different other varieties of maize and other cereals was also created with a good production. These practices were also tried in Africa, and several cereals and the production of wheat and maize was also improved, or was also increased, but the level of the production was not comparable to the Pakistan and India because of some political issues and some lack of facilities that were present in, or that were provided by the Indian and Pakistani or the Mexican governments, but they were not provided by the African governments. So that's why the Green Revolution was not as successful in Africa as it was in other developing countries. So this was all about the Green Revolution. Hopefully you understand it well. And for the next videos, please subscribe to my channel, that is MH Biology. And for my other videos, please keep connected. Until then, goodbye.